Player evaluations are not constant. They're constantly going up and down based on a variety of factors and a ton of different things. One moment you're a player that nobody wants anything to do with, the next you're riding high, scoring goals in the Champions League. Just ask Weston McKennie. Today we're going to look at a few players on the US men's national team who have seen their stocks rise in the last few months and some who have seen their stocks fall. And I think the real fun part is we're going to look at two players who might be in for a ton of movement in the next few months. All that and more on this edition of the Yank Report. Hi, my name is Sam. Welcome into the Yank Report. And today is Mardi Gras. What's up? Yeah, I got my beat on. I'm from South Louisiana, and normally on today we would be on the streets with parades celebrating Mardi Gras, but all that's been canceled due to COVID and due to the freeze and all of that not fun stuff. So instead, I'm in here talking about the US men's national team with you guys. So please take some pity on me and hit that subscribe button and hit that like button, because I had to miss Mardi Gras this year and you had to miss Mardi Gras too, and that's not fair to either of us. Now let's begin with a player who has seen his stock soar in the last couple of months, and I am talking about Timo Weah, a player that a few months ago was just a highly controversial figure for the U.S. men's national team. People were saying that he may never live up to his tremendous potential that we saw at the U20 World Cup. People were saying that he was injury prone, that he's just fallen out of favor with the coach, that he was going to see himself get loaned out or sold to a lower tier club, just all kinds of things like that. But little by little, Weah was taking the little minutes that he was given and just did the absolute most with them. Little by little, his goals per game and his assists per game numbers kept going up, and also just creating wonderful moments within games that show you just the quality that he has. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about Timothy Weah not just as a guy who could potentially make the U.S. men's national team, but as a guy who is potentially in the best 11 for the U.S. men's national team. People are saying maybe Weah deserves to start over Gio Reyna on the wing, or maybe Gio Reyna should move to the midfield to make room for Timo Weah, or maybe Weah should even start up top. Either way, everybody has Timo Weah on their lips right now, and that is because he is performing so fantastically well for Lille. Of course, Lille is one of the hottest teams in Europe right now, and Weah is struggling to actually break into the starting lineup, but he has solidified himself as a player that's going to contribute every game. For all those reasons, the 20-year-old Timothy Weah is seeing his stock rise to an all-time high right now. Now for a player who's seen his stock drop a lot in the last few months, and unfortunately, I'm talking about the golden boy, Christian Pulisic, Chelsea's number 10. Ever since Thomas Tuchel arrived at Stamford Bridge, Pulisic has seen his minutes drop and drop and drop and drop. I believe he did start an FA Cup game, but he has not started a Premier League game since Tuchel arrived, and he has been seeing spot minutes. To add to the frustration, Pulisic has not performed great for the little minutes that he has had under Tuchel, and a lot of people are questioning what's going on with the player who was just so fantastic at the end of last season. Now, to be fair to Pulisic, it doesn't seem like he's fully recovered from that nasty hamstring injury that he suffered at the end of last year. We haven't quite seen the same explosion, the same burst of pace, and the same confidence that we saw at the end of last season. We saw at the end of last season that an in-form Pulisic can be an absolute world beater. So if he's able to regain that form and find some of that ability that he had at the end of last season, his stock could soar. But for right now, things are not looking good for Pulisic at Chelsea. Another hot stock for the U.S. men's national team has to be Chris Richards, the 20-year-old center back who just secured a loan from Bayern Munich to Hoffenheim. At Bayern Munich, Chris Richards was not getting a ton of minutes behind that stacked Bayern Munich defense, but at Hoffenheim, he was able to start a game and get some minutes early, and from what little we saw of Chris Richards, it looked really good. He has poise on the ball, he looks pretty good at solving problems under pressure, and he hit a few line-splitting passes that made the rounds in the U.S. men's national team Twitter and has people really excited. For years, Bayern Munich has been saying all the right things in regards to Chris Richards, how they see him performing, how they see his future with the club. We just haven't seen them back it up with giving Richards opportunities, but it seems like with the moves they have been making in the last few months that they do actually see Richards as a player for the future. And for those reasons, Chris Richards has seen his stock soar in the last couple of weeks. Now to another Bundesliga player, but this time one who has seen his stock go down, and I'm talking about the 18-year-old wonder kid Gio Reyna. Early on in the season, Gio showed us some flashes of that unreal ability that we've heard so much about, creating a ton of assists and some golazos to go with it. But As Dortmund's form has slumped, so too has Gio's. We haven't quite seen him have the impact on the games that we're used to. He's also seeing some positional fluctuation. Early on, we saw him play a lot centrally. Lately, he's been kind of all over the place. I saw a few games where he was a chalk on his boots winger. I saw him play as a 10. I've seen him play in different roles, and none of it is really sparking that same player that we saw at the beginning of the season. Now, that being said, Gio Reyna is an 18-year-old starting a ton of games for Borussia Dortmund. So all is not lost right here, and I'm definitely not selling all of my Gio Reyna stock. However, his stock is definitely down since the beginning of the season. Now to a player who has seen his stock rise a whole bunch since the winter transfer window, and I am talking about the 20-year-old Brenden Aaronson for RB Salzburg. You know, I think whenever Yunus Musa made his debut for the U.S. men's national team in the November friendlies, it sort of overshadowed everything that Brenden Aaronson had been doing in MLS. Also contributing to that is probably when Brenden Aaronson had made some appearances with the U.S. men's national team, he didn't exactly set the world on fire. However, since arriving for Salzburg, he's been a bit of a revelation. He has seen a ton of minutes and he has a ton of contributions. And if you watch his all-touch videos, they're absolutely fantastic. For those reasons, Aaronson has seen his stock soar in the last couple of months, and with the Europa League coming up, it could go even higher. And last on the list of players who are stocked down, I'm going to have to go with the Schalke striker Matthew Hoppe. Now, in fairness to Hoppe, he came out of the gate so strong that just keeping that up would have been next to impossible. Scoring as many goals with the hat trick and then scoring in those consecutive games, people were talking about him as if he could be one of the next great players in the world. Since then, he hasn't had the goal contributions that he had whenever he came out the gates, but I feel like he's been rounding out the rest of his game and improving in a lot of different areas. Either way, Hoppe's stock has definitely dipped a bit from the way that it just skyrocketed up the charts after his hat trick game. Now, a player that a lot of people are talking about right now and are very anxious to see what happens with him over the last few months, and that is Sebastian Soto. Soto was on loan at Telstar in the second division of the Dutch league, and he was tearing it up. And to a lot of people's surprise, he was recalled to Norwich in the winter transfer window and was able to obtain a work permit. At that point, a lot of people were wondering, is he going to go right into Norwich's first team? Norwich is a team at the top of the championship and is very likely to get promoted into the Premier League this year. To this point, we have not seen Soto with Norwich. He's been playing for Norwich's U23s, and it's a bit confusing. You would think that if the team recalled him in the middle of his loan that he would be brought into the team to get some minutes, but maybe he was just recalled because they saw the opportunity to get him his work permit and just made that deal right there. But if Soto is able to find a way to get into that first team for Norwich, if he's able to become a Premier League striker next year, he's a player that could definitely see his stock skyrocket. And he's a player that a lot of people on this channel are keeping their eye on. Now for my last stock to watch, and this is a player that might be in the opposite situation of Sebastian Soto right now. I'm talking about DeAndre Yedlin. Yedlin is a player who has seen his stock fall tremendously over the last 2 years. A player who was the lock right back and now might be on the outside of the depth chart looking in. Yedlin was receiving very few minutes for Newcastle in the Premier League and made a move to Galatasaray of the Turkish League. Now, a lot of people are fans of Yedlin and see him as a player with a lot of experience. He does have World Cup experience and think that he should be a player that's a part of the group going into the 22 World Cup. However, Yedlin has seen his form dip a whole lot in the last 2 years, and he seems to have just as many detractors as he does people who want to see him a part of the team. So what happens with Yedlin at Galatasaray in the next few months will probably go a long way to determining whether or not he's part of the group for the national team for the 2022 World Cup cycle. That's it for me, guys. Please get into the comment section and tell me, what do you think that I got wrong? What are some players that you think are really hot right now? And what are some players that you think are really cold? Who do you think is going to rise up and who do you think is going to drop? If you're still watching at this point, you should probably just hit that subscribe button so that we can run into each other again on YouTube. Hit that like button. It helps out the channel a whole lot. My name is Sam, and this is the Yank Report.